Joining me in the studio, I've got Zuleika Lebow and Paul Howard, Deputy CEO of Lupus UK. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Okay, so this is something, well, I've actually heard of it, but I should imagine quite a lot of people, it's not on their radar. But it says here, lupus affects more women than men. 9 out of 10 of all cases reported in women. It is now recognised that 1 in 1,000 people in the UK have the condition. Therefore, it's not as rare as some would think. Okay, so, well, Zuleika, I do believe you come across this in your own health.
Yeah, so I've been a lupus patient for about 7 years, and I originally had a bit of a tough time with it. I had my symptoms first appeared in university, and it was like my first year of uni, and I originally attributed it to stress, and then I was misdiagnosed with an underactive thyroid and going back and forth to the doctor and not getting better, and eventually I got diagnosed, but it was about a 9-month process.
This month is Lupus Awareness Month. Lupus affects more women than men. 9 out of 10 cases reported are in women, actually, and children represent 15% of all reported cases. Sadly, it usually takes 4 to 6 years from the symptoms to be confirmed. However, early diagnosis is very important, as untreated symptoms can have a devastating effect, including shortening of life. It's now recognised that 1 in 1,000 people in the UK have the condition, therefore it's not as rare as some would think. On the line with me at the moment is Paul Howard, Deputy CEO of Lupus UK, and Zuleika Lebow, who is a patient. Hello, folks. How are you?
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve. Very good, thank you.
Can you tell me, please, first of all, what exactly is lupus?
So lupus is what's called an autoimmune disease. It's where the immune system mistakenly recognises the body's own cells as foreign invaders. So things like bacteria and viruses that it would usually defend the body against. It also tries to defend the body against itself. So it produces autoantibodies which circulate in the blood and attack the healthy cells and cause inflammation in the tissues. So this can cause inflammation and damage in places like the skin, the connective tissues in the joints, the tissues surrounding the organs, and the organs themselves. So it can cause a wide range of different symptoms.
It's an absolute pleasure to be speaking to the Deputy CEO of Lupus UK and Zuleika Lebow, who is a lupus patient, as it is Lupus Awareness Month. And starting us off, Paul, can you just explain to us, what is lupus?
Certainly. So lupus is what's called an autoimmune disease, and it's a condition where the immune system mistakenly recognises the body's own cells as foreign invaders. So the immune system normally defends against viruses and bacteria, but in lupus it gets all muddled and it also attacks the body itself. So it releases these autoantibodies into the blood, and they attack the healthy cells, causing damage and inflammation. So that attacks the tissues, so it can affect things like the skin, the connective tissue in the joints, the tissues surrounding the organs, and the organs itself. So it causes really a wide range of symptoms as a result of this.
Wow. Well, I mean, it is quite a complicated disease, isn't it? Because there's so many different markers. I've been reading up a little bit about them. There's 11 major symptoms, and I suppose you could have any one of those, or a sort of like a basket of them.
Yeah, definitely a basket of them.
No, that's a collective noun now from now on.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So what ones that actually sort of like did you pick up on and sort of like affected you first?
Well, the first one I noticed was really bad joint swelling and joint pain. And it just felt like I remember feeling like my elbows had broken, and I thought, what have I done? Have I bashed into something? And it just continued, and it would sort of go away, it would get a bit better, and then it would come back. And the pain was really severe. And on top of that, I started to feel really tired. And this was just not getting better. Like, no matter how much I slept, it was just not improving. And I started to get bad migraines. My hair started falling out.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a sort of, again, the basket of symptoms just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Well, I had some personal experiences because I was working in further education, and one of my colleagues got diagnosed with lupus, and she went through, I think, the same as you, sort of like for about 6 months to a year. I mean, she thought she was just stressed.
Yeah.
And, and of course, in education, whether you're at one side of the counter or the other, and there's quite a lot of stress going on.
Right, now, Zuleika, I believe you are a sufferer of lupus. Could you tell us, please, about what it's meant to you and your journey with lupus?
Well, it's been a bit of a bumpy ride, to say the least. I got diagnosed with lupus during my first year of uni, and I started, just getting really unwell, having joint pains and things like that. And actually what the doctors thought it was an underactive thyroid, which I have as well. And I was just really unwell for months, and finally got taken to hospital and was diagnosed there, and was hospitalised for a couple of days. And I've just been on a cocktail of meds since then, trying to get it under control.
So you were diagnosed within months, but not years?
It took about 9 months for me to get diagnosed, and that's pretty rare.
Right, okay, so you're relatively lucky, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things.
And can you tell us what are some of the symptoms that we should be looking out for?
Yeah, absolutely. So lupus presents differently in everybody. No two patients will generally present with exactly the same symptoms, but there are some symptoms that are more common than others. Some of the most common symptoms are things like joint pains and swelling, muscle pains, extreme fatigue, which is like a tiredness that doesn't go away with rest. Skin rashes can be quite common in lupus, especially if they're photosensitive. So if you go out in the sun and you have a rash, then that's quite common in lupus. Other things that can also happen in lupus are things like hair loss, recurrent miscarriages can be the result of lupus in women, and things like depression, anxiety, and kidney damage can all be linked to lupus.
So, right, we've got Paul, who's the Deputy CEO of Lupus UK, and maybe you can just give us a little broad outline of what you do.
Yeah, so I'm based in the head office for Lupus UK. It's quite a small charity. There's only 7 of us, and 3 of us are full-time, so the rest are part-time. But a lot of what we're doing is providing information about lupus, because it is a condition that not many people know about. And I mean, we've done surveys, and over half of people often say that they first hear of lupus when either they're diagnosed or a friend or family member are diagnosed. So it's important that there's some good, reliable information available for people who are diagnosed with lupus, their family, their friends, and things like their employers as well. So a lot of what we do is providing good information through literature and through our website, and answering questions as well. And then we're also funding. So we raise a lot of funds that then goes towards research into lupus, and also funds specialist lupus nurses in cities around the UK, so that people have got the specialist care that they need, because lupus is such a complicated illness that it really does need that specialist overseeing their condition.
Yeah, I mean, without sort of like diminishing, what Zuleika and all the other sufferers go through it. The first time I was actually aware of it was on a House episode, I think.
Yes, I think most people probably heard of it first on House.
Yeah, and it's never lupus on House, except for when it is that one time.
Yeah, I know, and I seem to recall, although it was some time ago, that it was very, very complex, and it was throwing up all sorts of different sort of like side shoots. They're going, oh, it must be this and it must be that, and I suspect, Zuleika, that was very much your experience.
Yeah, 100% it was. So again, I was diagnosed with an underactive thyroid, which I have as well, and then I was diagnosed as being anemic, which that's something that a lot of women have, and it doesn't help that lupus kind of travels in a pack of other autoimmune or complicated kind of diseases like that. So it can often get misdiagnosed as ME or rheumatoid arthritis or vasculitis or any of these other conditions. So it can be quite difficult for people to get diagnosed.
What sort of symptoms should we look out for if we suspect that we've got this?
So normally lupus sufferers present with joint pain and swelling, extreme fatigue. Some people get hair loss. Some people develop what's called the butterfly rash, which is across the nose and cheeks, rashes on the body as well. But everybody's different. You know, some people experience quite bad organ involvement. I'm lucky I don't have that. But Selena Gomez is somebody that did experience that, so everyone's different with it, really.
Wow, quite a challenge. Now, I want to talk to you a bit about the treatment and possible cures, but before that, Zuleika, I know that you started showing symptoms whilst at university. Can you tell us a bit about your journey with lupus?
So as you say, I started when I was about 21, and originally the doctors thought it was just as a result of my thyroid levels being really, really low. So I was put on bed rest for about 3 months, and I just did not get better. So during that time, I was still experiencing really bad fatigue, really bad joint pains. My hair started falling out. I was having awful migraines. I found it difficult to eat anything except tin peaches, which is, you know, I really like food, so that was a tough one. And yeah, you know, just going back and forth to my GP and to A&E, and eventually I had to be hospitalised for a couple of days and put on, you know, IV steroids and things like that, and I was sent home with a diagnosis of lupus. But that took about 9 months, all in all.
And how are you doing now?
Yeah, I'm better. I mean, I'm 28 now, so it's been a while. There's been some highs and lows, but I haven't had an extended stay in hospital. I'm really lucky with that. A lot of people with lupus have some severe flares that means that they're in and out of hospital, and I've visited A&E a few times, but I've never had to stay overnight, so I'm really lucky with that.
I want to speak to you a bit more about the condition and how important it is to raise awareness of it, Zuleika.
Mm-hmm.
But before we do, Paul, can you tell us what treatments are available for lupus at the moment?
Yeah, so there are a few treatments, but not nearly enough. A lot of the treatments used in lupus are actually borrowed from other conditions. So, for example, the one that's most commonly prescribed for lupus is an anti-malarial. And it's used because it helps to control a lot of lupus symptoms and prevent risks of further flares of the disease and other complications like cardiovascular health issues. But it's not strong enough a lot of the time by itself when people have more moderate or severe symptoms of lupus. So then other treatments have to be added on, and you'll find that a lot of people with lupus are on multiple tablets per day. So other treatments that can be added on are things like immunosuppressants, which are drugs that help dampen down the immune system. And some of these are much lower doses of treatments used in conditions like cancer. But they come with a lot of side effects. So whilst they can help control the the symptoms of lupus, unfortunately they can also increase people's risk of infection and cause other undesired side effects. Other treatments that can be used are steroids as well, and they're very good at controlling lupus, but they come with loads of side effects from things like weight gain, mood disorders, insomnia, osteoporosis. So doctors are really trying to limit the amount of steroids that are used in lupus. But we certainly need more treatments that can control lupus but have fewer of these nasty side effects.
And Paul, is there a cure for lupus?
No, unfortunately, there is no cure for lupus. So it is a matter of managing the symptoms as well as possible with the treatments that we've got available. And that's one of the reasons why we do need more treatments. And fortunately, a lot of research is being done, but we do need a lot more research to find these other potential therapies and help those people who don't respond to the treatments that we've got available at the moment.
Well, I can well imagine, because it seems to be, you know, sort of such a mean little disease, isn't it? Because it attacks the immune system, it can attack tissues and organs and a wide variety of body systems. So there's just so much going on there. I mean, you know, if you're a gambling person, you think, wow, blimey, that's going to be really, really difficult to sort of like sort out. So how did it in the end come about to be diagnosed as that, you know, sort of like, you know, sort of, is there a test?
Yeah, so there are a few tests that people do that can indicate, that doctors do that can indicate that you have lupus. So there is they test your blood for certain antibodies, and if you test positive for these antibodies, it's normally sort of assume that yes, you do have lupus. But a lot of lupus patients also don't come back with these antibodies, and so they again look for the basket of symptoms, and they sort of just kind of there's a lot of figuring out, and via process of elimination, kind of what you may have. It's a tricky little disease. I would definitely say it's a hard worker.
Okay, so I suspect very much indeed for every individual that's got lupus, there's a different raft of treatments that they might receive, and things that might work for them and might not work for you. So how have you coped then? Sort of like, did you carry on at university, or did you have to drop out?
No, I carried on at university, and I had a few side hustles along the way. It wasn't particularly easy, but I was really determined that it wasn't going to be the defining factor of my life, and that I was going to do other things. And over the years, I've been in and out of A&Es and had various kind of treatment plans and things like that. But I think most people with lupus would agree that as much as you can crack on, you just do, because otherwise your whole life is just about this disease, and no one wants that.
Hopefully you are being treated now, and that it's having an effect. But what sort of treatments are available for lupus these days?
So the treatments are quite varied, but also limited in a respect. So the main treatment used for lupus is actually an anti-malarial. So it's used to prevent malaria, but it's been found to be relatively effective in controlling some of the symptoms and effects of lupus. But it's mostly effective in sort of more moderate and relatively mild cases of lupus. And so in people who have more kind of severe symptoms, it's important to add on other treatments. And that's where things like immunosuppressants are used. So these are treatments that reduce the effect of the immune system. So the lupus itself is then less effective. And these can be much lower doses of treatments used in other conditions, including cancer. But unfortunately, a lot of these treatments also have nasty side effects. So it's a balancing act between those side effects and controlling the symptoms of lupus. Right.
Well, Zuleika, we give you our best wishes, and hopefully you will be 100% cured. I don't know if that is actually possible, but is that possible?
No, unfortunately not. I mean, it's improvable, but it's, there's no cure for lupus, unfortunately, although, hopefully some clever scientists very soon will invent one.
In the meantime, you can manage it?
Yes, it's manageable.
Okay. And is there anyone in particular who is more susceptible to getting lupus?
Yes, there is. So women are much more likely to develop lupus than men. About 9 out of 10 cases of lupus are reported in women. It's also much more common in certain ethnic groups. So people of Black and African or Asian origin are perhaps 3 or 4 times more likely to develop lupus than white Caucasians. So it can be especially important for women from these communities to be aware of the symptoms and look out for them and report them to their doctor.
Do you have any idea why there are more women who are of Asian and Black origins are more susceptible to it? Do we know why? Yeah,
so it does appear, based on some research studies, that there is a genetic component. So it seems that certainly one study looking at Asian communities found that there is a gene abnormality that could be linked to increased rates of lupus compared to white Caucasians.
Okay. And Zuleika, bringing you back in, for those living with the condition, how important is it that family and friends and even work colleagues understand the day-to-day challenges that sufferers battle?
I would say it's invaluable. I mean, I'm really lucky. My friends and family are brilliant. And I have a very supportive partner, but, you know, I know a number of women who have struggled to, you know, meet people who understand their condition and what they go through, because, you know, you have to cancel plans when you're working full time. A lot of the time, you know, you get what's known as brain fog, which is when you just can't think through it. I mean, in a lot of women who have been pregnant experience baby brain, and it's sort of the same thing. And then you also sometimes, if you like, say you're working on the phone or whatever, you get aphasia, so you get tongue tied. You just can't get your sentences out properly. And it's really important for people that you work with and friends and family to just be a bit compassionate and understanding and try to find ways to work with you. I mean, I think people with lupus would be the first to say that they don't want a handout. They don't want anyone feeling sorry for them or giving them special treatment. It's just about adjusting the ways that you work so that you can get the most out of somebody who has an autoimmune disease without making them feel like they're not doing their best.
Now, just to finish off with Paul. Paul, if people have got any concerns about their health and they might, or they might even be diagnosed, but they haven't been made aware of your charity, there must be a website.
Yes, absolutely. So our website is lupusuk.org.uk, and it really is the best place to start. But in addition, if you've got any questions, we're also on all the social media sites. So pop on those, ping us over a question, and we'll be happy to answer anything. And you can also give us a call in our office, and the number is 01708 731 251.
Where can our listeners go to for more information then, please?
So our website is probably the best place to start, which is lupusuk.org.uk. But we're also on all of the social media sites, so just give us a search and you can contact us on there, or you can phone us on 01708 731 251.
Yeah, I understand. Now, finally, where should listeners go for more information on lupus?
So a great place to go is our website, which is lupusuk.org.uk. We're also on all of the social media sites, so if you've got any questions, pop on there, send us a question, we'll be happy to answer them. And you can also give us a call. Our number is 01708 731 251.
Paul Howard, Deputy CEO of Lupus UK, and Zuleika Lebow, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much, Helen.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've got one more question, Paul, I forgot to ask you.
Yeah.
How many people in the UK does lupus affect?
So a study in 2012 found that around 1 in 1,000 people in the UK have lupus. And based on the current population, that would be around 64,000 people in the UK have lupus.